Yo, and welcome to another episode of RevivalFlix, where we try to find some classic films or some missed films that maybe got forgotten about it, and we try to review it with today's perspective, since things really have changed quite a bit, and maybe we can also have like a different take on maybe a movie that wasn't really appreciated in the past, but nowadays it seems that the time caught up. And I also keep on hearing this constant criticism saying that new movies aren't great, and they don't have the high quality standards that the old movies had before, and so on. So I don't agree with that, but I constantly hear that complaint. So we try, like, to find movies. Either it doesn't really have to be like a classic or an old movie. Can be like maybe a missed movie, and we try to highlight here in the channel. So this one actually that we're going to review today, Eddington. So this is actually a new movie. So it was released on in 2025, 2025. And the way that I actually came about this movie was a tech person that I really follow his work. I think he has really interesting perspectives on everything that is going on, or maybe what the future is going to be like. And his name is Marc Andreessen. If you're from the tech world, for sure you've known about him. I think he was involved in one of the first browsers. I'm not sure if Netscape or Firefox, but anyway, one of those. Please research on your own, because these little facts I'm really not sure about, but I should do my research also about him. But anyway, he does have uh, like I would say, how do you call when I would say a venture capital company that invests in a lot of tech companies and all sorts of tech companies. Of course, AI is the one that it's in the spot now. But he does have. I think he is also one of the investors in Replix. Not sure if you guys have heard about that platform, but it's a really really good platform to build applications along with AI. And it's I mean, we have all sorts of AI nowadays, right? But this one, it kind of like deploys already your application, and it tries to get the user out of the coding, because for to create applications with AI, you need to at least understand a bit of coding, or at least the architecture of it. But Replit, the goal is like to get that away um, of the user, right? So anyway, enough about Mark Andreessen. Let's get into the movie itself. So let's start with the data. So in IMDb, the rating was 6.6. In my opinion, I'm going to already anticipate this. It's at least a 7.5. Of course, I cannot do decimals in IMDb, but I would give a 7.5, if not an 8. Depends on my mood, the day that I'm rating. But anyway, what surprised me about Mark Andreessen, so he was in a podcast, Lenny's podcast. I'm not really familiar with that podcast, but anyway, it was a very, very good interview. I'm leaving the link here down below if you guys are interested in. But anyway, throughout the not throughout the podcast, but at one point he said, "Oh, I have this movie. I have this movie. Not it's not his movie. I mean, they were talking about movies or whatever, or at least what he was consuming in terms of media and so on." So he cited this movie, Eddington, as his favorite movie, at least 2025. And he said it was so underappreciated and so on. So I am inclined to like agree with him. I think it was underappreciated. I mean, IMDb rating 6.6. I don't consider that a high rating. I consider that a really mediocre. But this is not a mediocre film for sure, and I'm going to explain why later. But anyway, oh yeah, and to reflect that, so the budget of the film was 25 million, and worldwide it made 13 million. So it was kind of a flop. I mean, I didn't like read the stats before watching the movie, and as soon as I read, like those stats, I was kind of like surprised. So I thought it was kind of like unfair. But anyway, let's get on with it. So about the crew, the director is A- Aster. Ari Aster. I really don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a really young guy. And of course, I went again at IMDb, kind of like browse through, like the productions and directions that he had been a part of. And again, if you're already familiar with the channel, I do have a lot of respect for directors that also write the material. So he is the director and writer, and he did wrote and directed a bunch of other films. Some were actually okay rated, others not so much. But there was one that he only produced, he didn't direct, which is Bugonia. So I've been hearing about a lot of good things about this movie. It was already kind of like in the top of my list to watch it, and he produced. So that was already kind of like surprising, and also coincidence. Another coincidence also. This film is with Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix. So if you also follow this channel, I mean, if you're one of the 12 people that follow this channel, I just did a recent Joker, the second Joker film review, and like saying, oh, was it really that bad? Because the criticism was very, like negative, and I said no, not in my perspective. It was actually a very, very good movie. But if you want to know about the details, please watch that review. But anyway, going on with continuing with this film. So Ari Aster, haven't really hadn't heard about him, so began to scroll down to see what movies he had done. Really, there weren't so many. There weren't, I think, any movie. I mean, I'm not so up to date. I'm trying to be up to date with the films that are being released, but I really wasn't familiar with the films that he had directed or written. So, but there were like two or three films. They had really good titles, and since I really like the style of this direction, I'm gonna talk about that later also. I'm gonna actually watch some more films of his. So I picked like three that I may watch, which is Bo from 2011. In IMDb, it's rated at 6.2, but I think I can ignore that, especially since this one is totally off with my rating. There was the Turtle's Head. Again, interesting titles, but also 6.2. I'm probably gonna watch that one, and if everything goes well, I'll either make a review here or maybe watch some more. There were Heredity or Hereditary. Maybe I'm gonna watch that also. It has actually a good rating, 7.3. But the Turtles had, I think, the plot, at least like the snippet there from the plot, I think it was better aligned with my interests. Anyway, let's move on with the actors. So Joaquin Phoenix, well, what can we say? Everybody knows him. I don't think there's much of presentation here. So, but then there's Emma Stone. I thought she was actually very good in this film, and she was a very familiar face. I mean, I couldn't like recognize her by name, but I know that I knew that, by her face, I for sure had seen movies of hers, and then I checked IMDb again, and of course I had. So La La Land, it was probably the most iconic work from her. I thought she was really good in that. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, she was there, and I thought she was okay. I did remember her, and then surprisingly, she was also in Bugonia. So world of coincidences. And then she was also in the interview. I'm not sure if I watched that film. If I didn't, I'll probably watch it. But anyway, and then there's Pedro Pascal, of course, you guys everyone knows him. And then there was Deirdre O'Connell. If you're not familiar with her, I'll give you just a straight reference that you're probably gonna recognize her instantly, which is the penguin. So she was the mother of the penguin, and I was really impressed in in that series. I mean, I love that series, but I was impressed with her acting there and so on. I thought she did a really good job there. I mean, it's probably not her style of movies. I'm not sure if she does have a style of films, like to pick and do and so on. But anyway, I wouldn't think so. But she was really great, and I became kind of like a fan. And then I watched this film. I thought she was really she she stood out here in this film. You guys are gonna see why later, but. Yeah, I became a fan of hers. I'm even going to maybe like pick some old movies from her, and then I checked like her filmography and so on. I realized she was in the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't remember her like off the top of my head, but for sure it's a good movie. So she probably did a good collaboration there. But let's get into the review itself about the movie. Right off the bat, I must say that I consider this like to be a historical film. So just a kind of like a backstory. So it happens during COVID. I mean, the film wasn't shot during COVID. It's like portraying like 20, I think 2020, 2021, something like that. And it takes place in a very small city called Eddington. And as you may imagine, it kind of like explores the different perspectives from the both ideological spectrums about that what was happening at that time, and a few of the I would say judgments of either either spectrum. But the thing is that I thought it did a good job of being like balanced and realistic, about the points being made on either side and so on. So I felt that it wasn't biased for any of the sides. I thought it was like it was kind of like fair. However, however, the fun part of this film is that it kind of like makes you sympathize with one perspective, right? And the film it has like this it has like this, not, I wouldn't say slow, but it has this solid rhythm, but it's not like too fast or whatever. It's like an old school film, and it kind of like puts you in the mood, like trying to understand and like trying to observe and remember what was happening during the pandemic and so on and so on. So then it kind of like persuades you, like to sympathize with some characters there, right? All right. But the but the interesting part is that at some point, with because of some events there, that really changes a lot. That changes completely. It does a complete like U-turn on everything about the movie, and that's that's what I thought it was so fascinating about the movie. So so then it becomes totally this other style of film, but not in a way that it completely detaches from what was being constructed. So I think it did a really good job on like presenting itself some kind of a way, right? And then it completely turns in. It's like two movies. It's really like two movies, but keeping like the identity throughout the film. It's not like something that I've seen this happen in other films. That maybe a film until the middle of it, it's like one movie, and then from there on it's like another, but it completely detaches from the movie in a bad way. Not this one. This one really maintains, the I would say the environment, or the ambience of the film, but it does a really good job of surprising you, so yeah, so that's there, that aspect of the film. And I mean, I don't want to spoil, anything, but since it happens in a small town, I already talked about that. So I'm going to already anticipate that there are some action sequences, and those action sequences, I think they are even more impactful because it's like in a small city. So you see some scenes, like some scenery, a couple of times, so you get like familiar, with the town. Oh, now it's in this place. Oh, now it's in that place. Oh, now it's and so on, and so it did a really interesting job, a really good job on like making the audience kind of like part of what was going on, and then since all of these things happen, you kind of get confused about what you were feeling before about some of the characters, and then you start to question yourself, and then you even maybe you even question, the director. What's he trying to do here, what is his point of view, or maybe what is it trying to influence me to think about, so there are these very, I would say, psychological games that the film plays with the audience. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good movie. I wouldn't say it was the best movie of 2025. I really do need to like remember about the films that I watched that were produced in 2025. But Mark Andreessen, he really liked this film, and he explained in the podcast why he liked this film. Because he thinks it's a microcosm of the society of but taking place in a small town, so you get like closer to the perspectives. Oh, and that's another thing. I think they uh, again, they're playing around, like with the perspectives of both ideological spectrums, right? But they do it in a realistic way, and it's not like stereotypical, none of the sides and so on. So yeah, that was really well done. Yeah, and I gotta say, after a certain point, it has like that snowball effect, that of like events happening and so on. You really think, man, I really didn't expect that. And there's something about the style and all of directing that I liked about this film. And then later, like doing the research, like to put together the material and whatever for the review, and then it was classified as a dark comedy. And yes, I do agree that it was a dark comedy, and I love dark comedy. So I did think that the style of directing, it was something interesting there. I can't really point out exactly what, but at some points it reminded me of a Tarantino film, where he kind of like mixes these two styles of like a calm character building moments, old style films with like action sequences and so on. So yeah, it did remind me a bit about his style of directing. But anyway, would I suggest this film? I would suggest this film, especially if you'd like to get surprised. It's not exactly like a plot twist, but it's like it really, at some point, it really becomes like another thing totally unexpected. So if you like to be surprised that way, and you're also like interested, like in revisiting emotionally, or I don't know, just revisiting, that period of the pandemic, COVID, and so on. I think this film does a good job on portraying that in a realistic way. And yeah, I would for sure recommend this one. And again, anyone that wants to disagree, wants to begin a debate about anything I said, please leave your comments here. Even if they're negative, if they're negative is even it's even more fun, to interact. And I also, of course, encourage anyone that have like other tastes of film. So I'm gonna put this probably in the category of weird ones. But if you like have a taste for like other less known films, and I would encourage like just to start the channel and build up the community, because it's I must say it's kind of fun, putting all of this together, and of course exercising your critical analysis. And yeah, well, I'll see you in the next one.